Well, welcome back, wisdom lovers. I guess you wanted to learn about duality today. So, we're going to jump right into it then. So, duality for beginners. What does it mean? If you do a quick definition search, you're going to understand that duality is talking about two things. In my introduction, I explained to you about the connection between duality and the Two of Swords in the tarot deck. I could do an entire video on what that means in the tarot card, just saying. In fact, most of the points I'm going to hit on today, I could probably talk for hours on end about. So if you're interested in this topic, I can certainly give you more details in another video or what have you, or even through a card reading, honestly. But people don't ask for these things in a card reading. They just kind of sit down and say, okay, tell me what you see. And it's like, I could see many things, but it really depends what you want to learn about and hear and know about yourself. So, duality is about recognizing that there is a difference between your ego and unity. So, those are your two opposing things. Unity is one, ego is two. So, our egos make us feel that we are alone in the world in a sense of we are special, I guess you could say. I mean, we are in a way. We are all special and unique individuals, which is cool. I mean, duality is a gift, and that ego is a gift, but that ego can be taken to an extreme where it just divides us. And the unity mindset is essentially saying, we are one, we are all connected. I am connected to this other person over here, and the things I see in them that I don't like are actually things within me that I don't like. And I can't change what the person I'm looking at is like, but I can change it within me. And here's where it gets amazing, right? If you see a quality in the person in front of you that you don't like, and you change it in you, you have now changed and altered your personal egoic vibration, if you want to say. It's not really an egoic vibration, but your own personal physical body vibration is now changed. It's different because you saw that quality of, we're going to say, jealousy or insecurity in another person where they go after people, and I don't know. We're going to just stick with jealousy. It's a very common one. And you see it and you don't like it. You don't like how people treat each other when they're behaving that way, so you change it in yourself. Now you do not vibrate on the vibrational level of jealousy. So what does that mean? That means that people who want to come at you with jealousy, who have jealousy, who live that way, vibrationally, they are not in sync with you anymore. So what will happen is those situations, those people, those circumstances will eventually be not a part of your story. They're not in your life. They won't be around you. They're not coming towards you. In fact, they kind of see you and they go in the other direction. They're like, oh, this girl is not about this portion of ego. Let's go haunt another house, you know? I think I said that because I'm supposed to point this out for Christian people. So in the Bible, when I was a Christian, in the Bible, there was, I think it's in the book of Acts, and somebody can feel free to chime in and tell everybody, where it is. But in the Bible, there is a part where it says, if you remove a demon from the house, but you leave the house empty, it will come back and bring 7 of its best friends with it. Something along that line. So if you don't replace ego with unity or oneness, one mind, we're all connected, universal, if you don't replace the ego with that, it's kind of like trying to quit eating sugary treats without giving yourself an alternative form of dessert that satisfies your feeling of having something sweet. So you're just creating a hole where something was, And we are egoic beings. We are humans. So our human nature is going to be to replace what's missing with something else. So if you don't replace it, you are leaving it to chance what it's going to be replaced with. I could talk on this topic extensively. We could talk about how this impacts people who use drugs and alcohol, or dieting or anything where they try to give something up and achieve something. You have to replace it with something. So it's not enough to say, hey, drop your ego or move past that ego, or you only think of yourself, you have to think of others. Those statements are not functional. Like, how do you do it? How do you get from ego to unity? So that's actually a really good question. I mean, what are the components of ego? Ego is based on our past experiences. So everything you believe you know about why things are how they are or how they should be. I love that phrase, boy. This is how it should be. You just need to fall in line with how it is. This is how we do things. Well, all of that can be very, very convoluted depending on who it is that developed the system for how we do things. So do we do it because it's what's best, or do we do it because it's what's always been done? You know, are you just going to throw all the big fish back into the water because your frying pan is not big enough to cook anything but a medium-sized fish or a small fish? Or are you going to say, okay, in the past, perhaps we've only ever kept the small and medium fish. Now we have a large fish. So let's, as they say, think outside the box here. What can we do? Before we cook it, we could change its size. We could change its consistency. We could alter the fish in some way, or we could get a larger pan, or we could use a different cooking method. So the unity mind thinks in new ways and finds new solutions to existing problems, which is why we've had such a shift in our culture and our society since 2012 in coming to understand that we need to make huge shifts, whether it's political or environmental, or just personal. So, and that's where I focus. I don't focus on those other things I just mentioned. I don't get into politics. I don't talk about politics with people. I don't talk about government or money with people. I focus on how we as just individual people can work on shifting our attention from ego to unity. And when I do a card reading for people too, that's also what I'm focused on, is in what way is this person's lifestyle built around their ego, and in what way can they set themselves free from that to get to their highest and best self. So we know that ego is a tendency towards judgment of what we see on the outside. I'm going to judge this person in front of me who's jealous. What would it be like if we came at that problem, that same exact issue, with the mindset of unity and oneness and not duality, and I'm not different from them, I'm not separated from them? If you were to look at the jealous person through those eyes, instead of judging what they were doing and why they were doing it, you would feel compassion, possibly empathy, if you're capable of it, if you're really tuned in, if you're empathic, if you're able to put yourself in their shoes. You would actually feel some level of pain and suffering, and you would probably recognize that their ego was jealous because they are building from past experiences. I'm jealous of that person. I'm jealous that this girl is paying attention to my boyfriend because in the past, a girl stole my boyfriend from me. And I'm remembering that, and I'm judging this situation based on that situation. Aren't they all the same? Isn't a cheater once always a cheater? Don't we hear these phrases all the time? People don't change. Everybody's the same. All men are that way. That's just how women are. Hey, that's what jobs are like. Work sucks. These are the kind of mental programming that we've been picking up for years. And that is the duality mindset. People just don't know to call it that, and they don't recognize that they're a part of that system. So breaking away from duality means that we separate ourselves from that existing system, and we take on the possibility of operating outside of that system, or as some people like to call it, thinking outside of the box, which, funny enough, my mother said in a text message to me yesterday. She said, Ange, I think you need to really think outside the box here and do it differently than you thought you should. And I was like, number one, here's where my ego was. Number one, who is my mother to give me parenting advice? She was like, not a good parent. This is me being judgmental. This is my ego, right? And then number two, I couldn't help but agree with her. So I had to drop the ego and think of unity mindedness and say, even though I want to judge my mother, that who is she to give me parenting advice, I agree with her. And she's right. I don't know where she got that idea from, but she's right. So if I let my ego control the situation, I would never ask my mother for advice. I wouldn't have told her about the problem I was having with my children. We would have never had that conversation in the first place. The ego would have stopped us. My duality consciousness would have prevented me from believing that my mom and I could possibly connect on this issue. But unity consciousness allowed me to evolve in that moment, allowed my mom to show what she could offer as a parent here and now. Maybe she wasn't, number one mom when I was 15 or 16 years old, but I'm 45 now with children of my own. And my mom is a frickin' good mom. So shout out to my mother, who's awesome and I love her. And she said, think outside the box. And I said, oh, she's right. And I said, but Mom, if I do this, aren't I just encouraging this kind of behavior? And she said, you're never gonna know unless you try. Did my mom become spiritual as she got older? I don't know. Maybe. I think people as they age do. But it's a good example of how, we tend to think if we are working on ourselves spiritually, we can also, that ego still creeps in and we go, well, who are you to tell me anything? I mean, who is Angel Marie to tell her Christian friends anything? The Bible is my guide. So why should I listen to an earthy witch when she tells me this is the belief system that I believe in, but here's how I think you should live? Why would you listen to me? You wouldn't. You would just be like, nah. And probably some people won't listen to my video because maybe they do think that way. And maybe some of them are going to listen anyway, and then they're going to go, it's weird, but that does make sense. And it doesn't take away from my own belief system because I know that Christian people feel the same concept in their own world because ego separates them from their Savior and unity, fellowship, brings them into communion with their Savior. So it's the same philosophy, basically. I'm just looking at my notes here. So judgment comes from ego, and judgment is brought into our line of vision by our perceptions based on our past experiences. So how can we break this cycle? Like that's the whole point of this, right? How do we break this cycle? The only way to really break the cycle is to look at each experience in your life as though you're looking at it for the first time. And I could talk at length about how this is pertinent to anxiety, depression, and OCD and PTSD, because right off the bat, I think about OCD and I think, okay, I can look at this experience where I would normally do this repetitive behavior, and I could say, in this moment, do I need to do that repetitive behavior? And I could use that as an example and we could expound upon it, but it works in every single sense. Think about it. If you eliminated your past perception, you would not have anything to base a judgment upon. And therefore, you would meet a new person, listen to what they're saying, and have to go inward to this place inside of you where you have this ever constant sense of security. And that's what you need to strive towards if you want to get away from ego-minded thinking, if you want to break away from duality. Breaking away from duality means going inside of yourself and finding out what is that constant for you. Okay, so for some people, it's going to be God. For other people, it's going to be getting to a Zen place of quiet mindfulness. For other people, it is going to be, it could be any number of things really, but it's still all the same thing. It is tapping into your real true self, who you are, without judgment, without ego, without past experience. Just what do you really resonate with? You know, when you're just sitting by yourself, where does your vibrational level bring you? Does it bring you to jealousy? Does it bring you to anger, fear? Or does it bring you to love? Does it bring you to understanding? Does it bring you to wanting to do kind and compassionate things? Does it bring you to wanting to help? Does it bring you to wanting to heal yourself? Does it make you feel healed if you're sick? You know, that's what you're going to find out if you take that journey. Away from duality mindedness, away from ego, and towards unity mindedness. That's the only time you're going to know what's actually there. But we don't teach our children to do that. We just put them into the system and we say, this is how we do things. You have to fall in line. You must now comply. You must, what was that word that, I always forget the word. One of my daughter's teachers said it to me. And she's just an awful teacher. I'm sorry to say it that way. I'm so ego and judgy. But she's a really good example of, like, I can look at her with my ego and say, who made you a person who could teach our young people anything? I don't care what the subject is, but you're not a good example, basically, to the kids. But am I a better example? You know, so again, I'm being judgmental, but she used a word that my husband literally, as soon as he heard the word, he stepped in front of me and between me and the teacher, and he said, my wife and her daughter both are not going to be the type of people who will ever comply, or it's when you fall in line with, I can't think of the word. This always happens to me with this word, but the point is, like, join the crowd, fit in, do it the way everybody else is doing it. That's not my way, and that's not Annika's way. And Annika was struggling in the class because that's what the teacher expected in this particular classroom. It was her classroom. She got it right. She can ask for it. She can say it. But it might not necessarily be the right way for everybody. And it isn't, because, you know, again, it's ego that drives that classroom setting, that it's just your way, not what works for everybody, because everybody learns differently. So you have to use that unity mindset if you're going to break that ego-driven system. And so I'm sure you guys are going, what in the heck was Angel Marie talking about for 19 minutes and 25 seconds? But if you listened all the way through, thank you. And, you know, I really like talking about this kind of stuff. And this is the kind of thing that emerges during any of my card readings, or if I was to be teaching you how to read cards. But if I could give you anything in life, it would be the ability to step away from duality and into unity, and see your judgments from the outside. I will leave you with one last thing. So I've been very intrigued by the ongoing like Facebook conversations about the halftime show this past Sunday when the Super Bowl halftime show. And I love belly dance. I adore Shakira. Don't even get me started. Like, I worship her. I love Shakira. As soon as I knew it was going to be J-Lo and Shakira doing the halftime show, I immediately got anxious and frustrated and upset, because when you put female stars on display and you basically say, here's what Hollywood is producing, here's what the music industry is producing right now, and you put them front and center, you are going to see I don't want to say nudity. You're going to see what the music industry wants you to see. We'll say it like that, because some people are like, well, what about Adam Levine? I don't see all you moms who are pawing over Adam Levine's shirtless, whatever. What's the difference between that and a woman's crotch? A lot, actually, is the point. Okay? Because men walk down the street without shirts on all the time. How many times do you see women walking down the street dressed the way that J-Lo was dressed and moving the way that J-Lo was moving? Right. Okay. There you go. You don't. So what does that tell you? Do you think that Jennifer Lopez, who is a mega superstar with a big heart, by the way, she's beautiful, she's talented, she's fascinating, she's an amazing woman, and women admire her. I admire her. My daughter admires her. My girlfriend Suzanne admires her. My husband admires her. Everybody loves her. Okay? So she has absolutely zero to prove to anybody. But my point is that what you were seeing in that show was not those people. You're not seeing Shakira. You're not seeing Jennifer Lopez. You're seeing what the music industry wants you to see. You're seeing what the halftime show producers want you to see. So don't get mad about it. Understand that what you're seeing is the ego of the system, the industry that's producing it. It's not the girls who are performing up there. If you took the time to know them, you would know that they have a personality, a big heart, a lot of talent. Shakira's an amazing dancer. She is generous beyond words. I'm sure Jennifer Lopez is too. But we didn't see those people. We saw what the music industry wanted us to see. That's all I'm going to say about this topic. It's just another example. And I too was very disappointed with the show. I was offended by the show. I didn't like the way that I felt these women who I love and admire are being, it's being taught to them to act this way within the system. So it's not them, it's what's expected of them. When I go to my job, certain things are expected of me. I wear certain clothing because it's expected of me. That's not my particular style of clothing, but it's what my job requires from me. Morning is not my best time of day, but my job requires my ass in the seat at 7:30 a.m. and there I sit and I do the best I can with it. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. That's where the ego and the unity are in conflict. And some of us, myself included, because I've been a stage performer, dancer, singer, I had opportunities to go to Hollywood, to California, to join different bands and groups, but I wanted a different kind of lifestyle, and I knew what that was going to bring. It wasn't what I wanted, and I don't judge anybody who's choosing it. I feel compassion for them. I feel empathy for them. I feel a little sorry for them sometimes. But what you do is you send them your good love and energy and your vibes, and you say, I want you to succeed. I want you to be happy. I'm going to support what you're doing. I'm going to buy your album. It's what we do. It's how we do it. Oh, there's that ego again. It's how we do it. See, it's everywhere. Try to go through your day today and like notice how many times your ego is in control. You're going to be amazed. You're going to be shocked. It's going to be crazy. Anyway, I'm going to end this video right now because it is so long. I hope it uploads. I love you guys. Namaste.